I took a shortcut through the woods, but I shouldn't have. I was 18 years old when I made the mistake that would change my life. It was late fall, and I had just finished my shift at the local diner. It had been a long day, and I was tired. I decided to take the shortcut through the woods to get home faster. It was a well-known path that cut through a thick grove of trees, the kind of place where people from town would walk their dogs or jog on a lazy afternoon. I had walked this route hundreds of times before. Nothing ever happened here. Until that night. As I made my way through the trees, a heavy fog began to roll in, almost as if it was creeping up behind me. It wasn't unusual for the fog to settle in these woods, but this time it felt different. The air was thick, colder than usual. My breath came out in short puffs as I walked, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. I kept walking, trying to dismiss the unease that was growing in my chest. I was just being paranoid, right? It was just a foggy night in the woods. Nothing to be afraid of. But then I heard something. At first, it was just a whisper. I thought maybe the wind was rustling the leaves, or that I was hearing my own footsteps echoing back at me. But no, it was a voice, faint and distorted, like someone calling from deep in the trees. Help me. It was barely audible, like a breath on the wind. I froze. I knew there was no one out here. The woods were too remote. No one came here at night, not this late, not when it was this cold. But the voice kept repeating, growing slightly louder each time. Help me. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't just ignore it. I had to check it out, right? My feet moved against my better judgment, and I started following the sound. I figured maybe it was a lost animal, or someone had gotten hurt. The voice wasn't human though. It had a strange hollow quality to it, like something was trying to speak without having a voice of its own. The fog thickened. I could barely see a few feet ahead of me now. But I pushed on, my footsteps crunching the dead leaves beneath me. The whispering stopped. But the air felt heavy, oppressive. It was then that I saw it. A figure, barely visible through the fog. At first, I thought it was just a tree, or maybe an animal. But as I got closer, I could make out the shape of a person, or at least, it looked like one. They were standing completely still, their back to me, their head hanging low. I called out, my voice shaking a little. Hey, are you okay? No response. I took another step forward, and the figure turned slowly, unnaturally so, like it had been waiting for me. It had no face. Just smooth, pale skin where its features should have been. Its body seemed almost translucent, like it was barely there at all. I froze in terror, unable to move. Help me, the voice whispered again, but this time it wasn't from the figure, it was coming from all around me. I could feel the presence, like something was closing in, suffocating me. I turned to run, but the path was gone. The trees seemed to stretch farther and farther, the fog becoming impenetrable. I couldn't see anything now. Just the sound of my breath and the thumping of my heart in my chest. The voice was still whispering, but now it was louder, more insistent. Help me, please. I ran. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get away from whatever that thing was. The ground beneath me seemed to shift, like the very earth was trying to swallow me whole. I stumbled, tripping over roots, branches scraping at my skin. And then, in the distance, I saw it. A faint light. A street lamp. The edge of the woods. I pushed myself harder, and just when I thought I couldn't go any further, I broke through the trees. The air felt different outside the woods, fresher. I collapsed on the grass, gasping for breath. I made it. I was safe. I thought it was over. That I was just being paranoid, that the fog had played tricks on my mind. But as I looked back at the tree line, I saw something that chilled me to my core. The figure was standing at the edge of the woods, watching me. It had no face. I never took that shortcut again. But here's the thing, I still hear the whispering sometimes late at night, when the fog rolls in. And every time I hear it, I know it's not just the wind. It's calling me back.